From The Australian, here's what's on the front. I'm Claire Harvey. It's Monday, May 26, 2025. One of the AFL's most memorable players, Warwick Capper, says he's concerned about his cognitive decline and believes the code didn't do enough to protect him and other players from head trauma. That's an exclusive live today at theaustralian.com.au. Business leaders want to slow the introduction of Fair Work Commission pay rises for health and childcare workers, saying it's too much for employers to come up with wage increases of up to 28% immediately. That'll blow up into a dispute with unions. Who's the highest earner on TV? And who earns $600,000 for 2 hours work? Today, the top salaries on free-to-air TV and why the glory days of superstar salaries are coming to an end. Steve Jackson is The Australian's media writer, and today he's publishing the inaugural Media Rich List. Jacko, this list should be making both you and I feel a bit angry, I think.
Yes and no. Angry that we aren't on this sort of money, but it's good to know that there are people out there on this sort of cash, and if we work hard and get the right breaks, we too will not ever earn this amount because it's going to be gone very soon. But it's nice to know some people are raking it in while the good times last.
Who's the Gina Reinhardt of Australian media?
Carl Stefanovic.
Just keeping it real, people.
Carl has long been the highest paid person on Australian television. In fact, he's the highest paid person involved in television, except for the people who own the networks. He was made a billionaire by David Gyngell back when David Leckie tried to poach him across to Seven. Leckie never forgot that. I met with him for lunch a couple of weeks before he passed, and he was still talking about how Carl had dudded him after agreeing to switch networks. But basically, Gyngell put him on this multi-million-dollar deal to keep him there. And then he's been on it ever since. Hugh Marks, when he was the chief of Channel 9, did manage to bring it down. He was bringing all the pays back in line with something that was probably a more feasible amount. But then after Hugh Marks left, Sneesby bumped Carl back up to $2.8 million a year.
David Gyngell, who you mentioned, was the favoured son of the Packers. He was the boss of Channel 9 in the tail end of the glory days, really. Is Carl and his salary the last remnant of those Packer glory days when salaries were huge and personalities were also huge?
Yeah, it's that thing about television from an era where everyone was tuning into it and you kind of had three options of what you're going to watch at night, and it really mattered if you had these stars on your network.
Okay, number two is not a journalist. It's Scott Cam, who's a bit of an everyman. He won the Gold Logie a few years ago, famously hosts The Block.
Oh, look, I tell you what, I haven't had a drink in a week, which
really?
I haven't done since the
better than-
70s. And I tell you what, I am going to strangle a few tonight, let me tell you.
I get it, mate, I get it.
Why is Scott Cam earning $2.4 million?
Scott Cam is the face of probably one of the most important shows on Channel 9. The Block has been a staple of its lineup since 2009, I think. And what's so important about it is it makes heaps of money. It brings in product placement. The sets actually effectively don't cost anything because they auction them off at the end of the show and recoup all the outlays that they've spent buying them. Legend has it, Scott Cam was enjoying a beer at the local watering hole near 9 and he was talent spotted. Ended up working with Jamie Durie and then just becoming probably one of the most popular people on Australian TV. He's the most loved tradie in the country, you'd have to say.
The next two also come from what you'd broadly call light entertainment, I guess. Hamish Blake and then Larry Emdur earning $2 million and $1.6 million respectively. Hamish Blake is really a self-made personality, isn't he?
He is, without a doubt, one of the funniest men in the country. Everything he turns his hand to is a success. The amazing thing about Hamish's latest show, which has now been going for 4 or 5 years, Lego Masters, is I remember being at 9 when it launched. And the wisdom at television is you don't say what you think of a show until the ratings come in. So as it was being rolled out, everyone's, Lego Masters, that's going to be interesting. The moment the numbers dropped and it was a huge hit, everyone, always knew Lego was going to win. But the fact that Hamish Blake can make a show about building stuff out of Lego into one of the most entertaining programs on television shows what his genius is.
And the gold Logie goes to Larry Emdur for the Chase Australia and the Morning Show, 7 Network.
On my very first day going to the Channel 7 newsroom as a cub reporter, I said, Dad, what do I do in there for my job? And he goes, mate, just be nice to everyone. Just be nice to everyone. But I came home after a couple of weeks and Dad said, how's it going? I said, Dad, I'm trying, but there's so many arseholes in this business.
Larry actually started his career as a copy boy in a newspaper in Sydney. He dropped out of high school at 15 to chance his luck at journalism, and he actually ended up becoming, at the age of just 19, the youngest national news anchor in the country. While a lot of people on the list are there for earning a lot of money for one job, Larry's one of those guys that fills in for people when they're off. He hosts the morning show, which is incredibly important because of the amount of money it brings in through advertorials and advertising. And he also hosts a daily afternoon game show, which again is critical to the 6 p.m. bulletins as it gives that lead into the 6 p.m. news.
Now we get to number 5 before we encounter a woman. That's Natalie Barr, co-host of Sunrise on 7 on $1.3 million. She's a great example, I reckon, of tenacity. She started out as the newsreader on Sunrise when she was really quite young, having come there from being a news reporter. And she's just stuck with it, hasn't she? And now she's eclipsed the people who used to be the hosts.
It's interesting to see with Nat is when she replaced Samantha Armitage as the full-time co-host of Sunrise, people weren't quite sure. Samantha had this larger-than-life personality, very much talked about in the media.
When we heard we were coming to Alice Springs, there was just one thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to drive a road train.
Natalie was a more straight, hard news journo, and she's come in, she's brought a completely different flavour to Sunrise, and you'll see her quite often being written up in the media for hard-hitting questions at breakfast.
And I hope that they pick up their game
Okay,
there.
look, with respect, you just haven't answered the question. We know what Qantas is doing. It's been on every...
And I think she's really earned the respect of that audience and probably deservedly her place at the top of the country's highest-paid female journalist.
Allison Langden, the host of Nine's A Current Affair, comes next on $1.2 million. She's another stayer, and she's gone from news to pretty gritty reporting for 60 Minutes over a decade. Now back in Australia hosting A Current Affair, replacing the beloved longtime host Tracy Grimshaw. It's really hard to step into the shoes of someone like Tracy, isn't it? But she seems to have made a success of it.
She has, and the thing that I think is interesting about Allison is she's one of those people who makes things look easy. I've had the opportunity to produce stories for her, working with her at 60 Minutes, and she's got this uncanny knack where it just looks like she's calm and relaxed and it's all very easy. But what you don't see is like a duck swimming on the water. She's paddling like mad underneath, works incredibly hard, involved in every aspect of making the show, and I'm sure she'll be the same doing that in A Current Affair. A Current Affair is a very exciting mix of light and bright, fun news, quirky stuff, but also hard-hitting investigations. She's covered all that gamut and she's really at home introducing those stories, and I think everyone out there really likes her as well.
It's 8 years now since Lisa Wilkinson quit the Today Show in a fury at the fact that she just could not negotiate a wage as high as Carl Stefanovic's. Looking at the wages of the women who are in this top 10, the next two are Sonia Kruger at $1.2 million and Kylie Gillies at $1.1 million. Did Lisa make a big mistake stepping away for just a measly $1 million?
I think so. It's a difficult one with Lisa because her pairing with Carl was fantastic. They were phenomenal together, great chemistry. I don't think anyone was expecting it to go as far as it did and completely break down. Obviously, Hugh Marks said, no, we're not doing it, put his foot down. And he had some valid reasons. But I think that was very much the beginning of network chief executives to say, hey, we've got to reel this in because we just simply can't afford to pay insane salaries anymore.
There are two Nine personalities at number 9 and number 10. That's Peter Overton and Tracy Grimshaw, both on roughly $1 million. Why is Tracy Grimshaw still earning $1 million?
Well, it's a little bit deceptive. Tracy's not quite earning $1 million. She's on a year-by-year contract, and that may have been reduced to about $500,000. It's one of those things that's being reviewed at the moment because last year with this deal, she did a 4-part series on blue zones around the world and one interview with Elle Macpherson for 60 minutes. And unfortunately, the days where networks could warehouse staff to prevent them doing reports on rival networks are gone. So the accountants really have to go, how can we justify this? Is that value for money? The thing is that we know that once you release a network talent and they're well known with people, they will get picked up to do stuff elsewhere. So we saw with Liz Hayes departing Nine after 44 years earlier this year in February, that within months she was doing a guest appearance on Channel 7 Spotlight. So it's one of those things that Nine's developed all these people. How do they retain them? Traditionally, they just pay them to only file the odd report for Nine. That's no longer feasible.
Coming up, the journo who's paid $600,000 for 2 hours of TV a week. I think we can accept that salaries in media are based on market forces. It's not a meritocracy. You don't get the money because you're better than everybody else. You get it because other people potentially want you. Nowadays, in the present environment of television, does that still apply? I mean, is anyone going to offer Karl Stefanovic an equivalent salary to come to 7?
There is still network poaching, but the poaching's at the lower level. We saw Joel Dry being poached from 7 to go anchor 9 News in Brisbane. But we're talking about $20,000 pay rises, $10,000 pay rises. Joel being poached to 9, that's for $250,000. And I think what we've seen now is with the generational change at shows like 60 Minutes, those reporters aren't on anywhere near the same amount that their predecessors were.
One name that stuck out to me on your list was number 18, Georgie Gardner from 9 on $600,000.
This is 9 News with Georgie Gardner.
Good evening. We begin with breaking news and very sad news.
I don't see Georgie on TV that much.
Pro rata, Georgie is the best paid journalist in the country. And it's a legacy from when she was brought in to do the Today Show. She got a massive bump up because she was the Today Show host. Again, that didn't work out. The experiment was canned after a year. But she remained on that salary because that contract was locked in. Georgie is a hard-working journalist, really well liked and known in Sydney, but she's on $600,000 to present the news 2 nights a week in Sydney alone, and obviously fill in for Peter when he's unavailable. But, I mean, it's not bad money if you can get it. No one can get it.
Steve Jackson is the Australian's media writer. His diary column is unmissable. You can check it out right now at theaustralian.com.au.